Hello and happy Friday, everybody. Here's what's coming up tonight on Now. Obviously, some follow-up storm coverage from yesterday. Also, a local musician shares his very scary story of something that happened to him while he was performing. We'll tell you that.
That's right. Plus, we're answering your questions. We got an Ask Now about a possible milk shortage and other ingredients at the grocery store. We're finding out the answers.
Also, the Bangor Mall loses another major tenant. We'll have that story.
This is News Center Now.
More and more coastal businesses are reporting devastating damage after yesterday's blizzard. The high tide and rough seas pushed water on shore and into the ground floor of homes and businesses all along the shore. Hello, everybody. Welcome to News Center Now on this Friday. I'm Lee Goldberg.
And I'm Lindsay Mills. Some amazing images there. When we prepare for blizzards, we think of snow and wind and ice, but flooding?
Yeah, Keith Carson here to explain how this happened. Keith, that's a lot of water.
Yeah, you know, we're here in Kennebunkport, which is one of the areas that was hard hit by it. The problem wasn't so much the storm surge, although there was one. It was really that we were at a high tide in addition to that. Here's a couple of graphics to help you explain what's going on. We'll start with where the storm system was when this all occurred, which was to our south and southeast. Originally, it looked like we could have an easterly, northeasterly fetch. Turned out it was a north-northwest fetch, which in theory isn't so bad. It doesn't pile as much water on shore. Go to the next graphic, though, and you'll see the wind speeds were relatively high at this point, 30 to 35 miles an hour. So that is enough to pile up some water along the coastline. But the key, as I mentioned, in your next graphic you'll see, is the highest tide of the month. You look at some of these tides as we go through the month, we'll be in the 9s and 8s for feet. We were 11 and a half or a little bit more, and that makes all the difference. Now you only need 2 or 2.5 feet of additional push of water to get something into some of these businesses and homes, and that's sure enough what happened. So it's a combination of factors. The good news is that we didn't have this thing stall and that we didn't have a straight east wind. But Lee and Lindsay, it could be a wake-up call to some degree, because we certainly could have stronger storms that spend longer off our coastline with easterly winds in addition.
All right, Keith, thanks so much. Glad to see you're out there safely with Stormy and you're not up against the strong winds today.
Well, on Neptune like yesterday.
Exactly. Well, with this record cold sticking around, people who rely on oil or propane for heat are hoping delivery drivers will service their homes soon.
Yeah, but with the massive amounts of snow that are narrowing the streets and then covering the curbs, as Chris Costa shows us, it can be a very tough situation for drivers.
Digging out after the snowstorm is no easy task, but it's necessary for those waiting for energy to heat their homes.
When you get storms like this and you'd have low oil, you're always worried about the delivery.
The snow and cold has thousands calling for oil and propane, and it's all hands on deck.
So whenever we get behind, they pull us out. We jump around to different jobs. And, this is my 10th stop.
Ed Abbott is a propane technician, but is bringing the heat instead of fixing it.
We're just trying to keep all the customers warm and keep everything up and running.
Trudging through inches of snow has been uncommon during his deliveries, a welcome relief.
It's nice when we get a path to these places.
Governor LePage issued an emergency declaration to allow delivery drivers to stay on the roads longer. It was set to end today. With another Arctic blast headed this way, oil and propane remain in high demand.
They told me that they wouldn't be able to deliver until today.
Richard Jorgensen is one of the lucky ones, getting his oil before the weekend.
We were fortunate because I hear some of the backup is up to 2 weeks, 3 weeks now. So the demand is great. And of course the prices are going up.
His driver appreciates a clear path.
It's almost like a doctors and policemen. You get used to it.
That's how Richard shows his thanks for the delivery coming just in time.
I was going to use 5 to 10 gallons a day, and so I just didn't want to run out. Thanks very much, Pete.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
Now, the governor's declaration will remain in effect until he says the emergency is over.
All right, well, officials are searching for a missing clamor in the Mid-Coast. The Coast Guard says Paul Brenner launched from Long Cove boat ramp yesterday evening, but didn't come back. What they found may have been his skiff not far from the ramp. Divers, helicopters, and boat crews have been deployed.
The town of Brunswick is stepping in to make sure residents of a mobile home park have access to clean water. This week, of course, we told you about Bay Bridge Estates and how the owners had a strict deadline to end the water rationing. Yesterday, Bay Bridge submitted a plan, but the town wasn't satisfied. Today, they did reach an agreement for the managing company to dig a new well and for the town to provide water in the meantime. Yet another anchor store at the Bangor Mall is slated for closing.
And with so many storefronts empty, it raises the question, do Mainers shop at the mall anymore? So we wanted to hear from you. Log on to pulse.newscentermaine.com to vote or hit the Pulse tab on our mobile apps.
All right, so do you shop at the mall? Your opinions are yes, no, or only when it's last minute. Tennyson Coleman spoke to an expert today to find out how the Bangor Mall could possibly turn this thing around.
Another one bites the dust. The Bangor Mall is losing another big box store within a 12-month span. Sears is on its way out.
Before the Macy's closed, I would go there more often.
Sears Holding Group, which also owns Kmart, announced the Sears in Bangor is one of hundreds of stores set to close nationwide. It's another blow in a succession of blows for the retail industry and for the Bangor Mall. Some shoppers say they avoid the shopping center altogether.
There's just nothing there I need, honestly.
Business Insider reports that online retailer Amazon's market value exceeds that of most major department stores combined, continuing to shed light on a trend that increasingly shifts toward online shopping and away from brick-and-mortar stores.
Malls themselves will have to repurpose. They're going to have to focus on, the bottom line is they have to engage millennials. That's the biggest buying market segment.
Brian Walton, director of the Center for Family Business at Husson University, says shopping malls need to do 3 things to ensure they keep up with the times. 1, engage millennials. 2, bring in big brands that millennials align with. And 3, bring in more niche businesses. Is there anything that could ever bring you to go there? I know you avoid it.
More specialized stores.
So is there a future for malls in America? That is yet to be seen, but if so, they'll need to adapt, and quick. For News Center Maine, I'm Tennyson Coleman.
Well, the Pulse poll will be live until the end of this show, so you still have some time to send in your vote.
And of course, you can always tell us what you think by just going to our Facebook live stream and commenting there. All right, still to come. It started out as a normal performance, but it took a very scary turn.
You don't know what it is. You don't know where it came from.
A Maine musician shares how he was drugged by someone in the audience and what he wants you to learn from his experience. That's coming up next.
And will the Patriots' playoff dreams be ruined by a feud among its leaders? That's a conversation we will be having later on Now. New Year's Eve is often a dream night for partiers and concert goers. Well, for one known Maine musician, New Year's Eve 2018 was a nightmare. Dave Gutter is a vocalist for the Rustic Overtones and the group Paranoid Social Club. Both bands were playing a set at Hampton Beach on December 31st when Gutter believes he was drugged. He says just 10 minutes after taking a drink, someone gave him, he was unconscious and then unable to finish the show.
Christina Rex spoke with him about how he's recovering and what he has learned from a terrifying experience.
I did all the normal things that you do, ring in the new year, kissed my fiance, and then there was a drink on the stage next to me and people cheers that I took the drink and I drank it. It was like just a 1 ounce shot of tequila. And then about 10 or 15 minutes after that, I've only heard recollections of what happened from other people because I didn't remember a thing. I began slurring my words until I eventually sat down and laid down on the stage. Yeah, someone had put something in the drink that was sent to the stage.
At what point did you realize that that had happened?
I realized it the next morning when I just woke up and was like, what happened? The first thing I felt was, regret and shame because I was getting paid to be there to do a show, and I couldn't do it to the best of my ability.
Do you think you're going to have to change the way you interact with your fans?
I don't know who to trust now. You know, someone took advantage of my good nature and that sort of rapport with the audience, and as a result, you know, I was unconscious. I felt like, oh well, I was just on stage singing. We all got wasted with Paranoid, and was I asking for it? You know, do people think that I wanted this? Did someone do this like as a favor, or do this because they think that that's, you know, what I'm about? So I was immediately like, oh, I can't own up to this because everyone's just gonna write me off. And, you know, even some of my close friends had like rolled their eyes or made jokes about it, but I was honestly really scared. The way I compare it is like the difference between like buying a ticket to go on a roller coaster and going on it, or having your car spin out of control.
Now, Dave says he's working with the venue and the police to find out who did this. He considered taking a break from music, but he says his 11-year-old daughter pushed him to keep on singing.
And he's hoping his situation will raise awareness of how often this happens. You can read more about that on our website.
All right, we talked about the rush on oil, but is there a milk shortage as well? You asked us, so we went to find out.
And the storm is over, but are we in the clear? Maybe not. Your full forecast is up next.
And do not forget to vote in today's Pulse poll. Do you shop at the mall? Go to pulse.newscentermaine.com or open our mobile apps to weigh in. We are coming right back. All right, running out to the grocery store in the freezing cold or blizzard is never fun. It's even worse if you get to where you're going and they don't have what you want.
So one of you sent us a question and we have the answer. She says, hi, we are a gallon of milk a day family. For the last 2 weeks, that became a little tough. I can't find milk anywhere. I read a sign saying it was a truck problem. Then I read a sign saying it was an Oakhurst problem. Do you know anything? Signed, Vitamin D Seekers in Bowdoin. So here's what we found.
There's been no milk for the last 2 weeks.
Amy Cornish is a mom of 4, ages 8 to 20.
It's in the morning, it's cereal and milk in your cup, and then at night it's milk and with your supper, and then there's coffee, and yeah, so it's a gallon a day or so around here.
She shops at the Hannaford in Topsom and the Gowels Shop and Save in Litchfield, the 2 stores closest to her Bowdoin home.
They have none. None. Nobody has anything. There's finally been some signs that said there's an Oakhurst problem, but yeah, it's been 2 weeks with no milk. It's crazy.
Cornish says in the last 2 weeks, she's gone back and forth between the 2 stores, an hour out of her day to come back empty-handed.
It's kind of annoying, and not knowing why there's no milk is annoying.
I want to bring you an update on the storm that's now underway.
Snow in the forecast means a dash to the stores for eggs, bread, and milk. You sent us pictures of cleared out dairy cases. So is there a shortage? Friday, a spokesperson for Hannaford released the following statement. Blizzard conditions caused delays in regular product delivery schedule Thursday. It was unsafe for truck drivers to be on the road for much of the day. On Thursday, there was an emergency milk delivery to Cornish's Hannaford. Oakhurst says there is no shortage and production was uninterrupted. But the Cornish family decided to cut out the middleman. They're hopeful they'll soon be able to supply their own milk, goat's milk, after adding 2 new members to their family last spring.
All right, time to make a very important choice. The Arctic air that our state has been dealing with over the last couple of weeks, or warmth and sunny skies. Who chose Arctic air besides Jess Conley? Anybody? Isabella Stanfield did. She's a sophomore at Deering High School. She came to Maine as an exchange student from Australia back in August. Now, while she is piling on the layers of clothing to stay warm, all of her friends back home are lathering on the sunscreen because it's summer back there with temps in the mid-80s. And Izzy says this is actually what she was hoping for.
I was wishing so much that it would be cold, and I guess I got my wish, so I'm happy, but I feel bad for the Mainers who, like, 6 months of this, that's gonna be their life. Knowing that there's an escape makes everything so much funner. Yeah, I can enjoy it.
Now, Izzy is only in Maine until the end of January, then she heads back home where it will be the middle of summer.
Oh, summer.
I know, doesn't that sound nice?
Summer, summer. Hey, Keith.
Maybe if we say it
Any
enough,
signs
it'll be
of summer in our immediate future?
That's a negative. Well, I mean, it is going to warm up, but when you start in the freezer like this, it's kind of easy to warm up, right? Anything over 25 is kind of a big deal in the recent pattern that we've been in. We're here in Kennebunkport, by the way. They had some flooding here yesterday with the big storm. Quiet today, but cold. Take a look at the radar. We've got some ocean effect snow, which you probably noticed along the coastline in York and Cumberland County. Came down and actually backed its way into the coast as some light snow flurries, a dusting of accumulation there. Not a big deal, but shows you how cold this air mass is, that it is backing a few snow showers back in there. The story, though, really is going to be temperatures here over the next 24 to 36 hours. It is cold right now. It's 6 in Portland, 2 in Lewiston, and there's still some gusty winds. We're getting a gust right now, which is lovely. The wind gusts between 25 and 35 miles an hour. Last check in Portland at 35 in Millinocket. Combine those two ingredients and you get the wind chill, which is not pleasant. 13 below right now in Portland, 25 below in Weldon, 24 below in Millinocket. So that's going to be the story over the next couple of days, is the cold air. Not much precipitation, though. It's relatively sunny through the day tomorrow and partly cloudy through the day on Sunday. Some light snow on the way for Sunday night and into Monday. Doesn't look like a big deal. Probably an inch up to 2 inches with a little clipper that moves on through there. And temperatures after that should start to moderate. But before we get there, take a look at Sunday morning's low temperatures. 13 below in Portland, 14 below in Bangor, almost 30 below in Berlin. Any other winter, this would be a huge deal. But these are basically similar temperatures to what we saw last weekend. We go 5 or 10 years without getting this cold, particularly along the coastline. We're doing it 2 or 3 times already, and it's just the beginning of January. But wait, there is hope. Take a look at this map. You don't need to know much about weather to know red is a good sign when you're talking about January and temperature anomalies. A big ridge building in by mid-January should give us above average temperatures. Remember, above average does not mean 60 degrees this time of the year, but it should get us out of the tank where we've been for so long recently. So a brutally cold weekend, snow showers and light snow for Monday, and then, you know what, we're a day off in this, and that's my fault, but we will be cold this weekend, light snow on Monday, and then moderating temperatures. Could be a storm next week, guys, but at this point, it looks like it would at least entertain a mixing with rain and maybe a little bit of freezing rain. But I think 40s are going to feel pretty fantastic, and I'll tell you this, there is no question I would rather stand in 50-mile-an-hour winds than this right here, right now.
All right, sir. We appreciate that. All right, so ESPN claims it has the scoop from inside the Patriots locker room. But do you guys believe it? Here's what they're saying. They claim that this could be the end of the Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, Robert Kraft dynasty. The article by Seth Wickersham claims that Coach Belichick was upset that Robert Kraft urged him to trade away backup quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo, and that Brady was happy about that decision, and the formerly reporting ousting of Brady's trainer and business partner added to that tension as well. But the 3 leaders of the team say in a joint statement today that these claims are exaggerated or they are flat out not true. They've had a productive working relationship for the last 18 years. That is not debatable. And they said that their actions have shown that they will stand united. The voice of reason, Bill Green, joins us. So, what do you make of all this hoop-de-doo?
Well, I think, you know, ESPN is doing what it's supposed to do, fill some airtime, fill some space. But I don't think you have to be great personal friends to be a successful football franchise. I mean, Tom Brady, I got his book TB12. I read his Bible, The 4 Agreements. He's out there. But boy, do I like watching him play on Sunday.
Well, and there are some parts of this article that I actually believe ring true. And one is that Tom Brady is way more about Tom Brady these days than he's ever been before. He's always been only about the team. And now with this evolution into the TB12 business, he's thinking about post-football life, where the first 15 years, I don't think we ever really heard much about that.
The thing I don't like now is we don't have Garoppolo, we don't have Brissett. We got Brady and Ryan, right?
Well, Brian Hoyer.
Brian Hoyer.
Yeah.
You know,
and Sam Green.
Yeah. So if Brady steps aside, we got a free agent. You know, so that does concern me a little bit. But you know, 1 week at a time, and I don't see Kraft's going to be there. He's going to own the team for 100 years.
He's not going anywhere.
Belichick, you had an interesting thought about.
I think actually Coach Belichick, of the three, is the most likely to be done. I feel like if there's any kind of a power struggle, he doesn't feel like he has as much say over his quarterback or with his owner as he used to. He might say, you know what, I'm going to go 5 more years. Let me go back to where it all started. Let me go to the Giants. Let me, put a bow on this thing. And
I think he stays with the Patriots. Kraft has him locked up for big money. And but boy, doesn't Belichick fit with the Giants? That does scare me.
I mean, just if he's going to put a bow on his career, it's like a poetic way to kind of put an end to it. A lot of you weighing in on this on our Facebook page, always trying to stir things up, controversy before the playoffs, trying to get people thinking about something other than how good the Patriots are. I think there's some truth to that as well. I really do.
That's what the media does.
But I don't believe that this entire article is actually as fake as a lot of Patriot Nation does. I think there is enough truth in there to make this at least part of the conversation.
All right, we'll see.
We will find out.
It's going to be fun.
All right, Lindsay, we're done debating about this stuff.
All right, very interesting conversation. You had me intrigued. All right, well, here is what is coming up on News Center at 5:30. A Maine family was outraged when their daughter's killer only got 3 years for drunk driving, but they're turning their grief and pain into a positive message that's reaching thousands, and how Mainers can better prepare for damaging flooding like we saw yesterday. We talked to Maine Emergency Management to bring you those answers, that and more, just ahead. And still ahead, we are also going to show you this viral video.
No, this is not edited. This is actually a figure skater competing to Little John and DJ Snake's song, Turned Down for What? As you can imagine, the audience loved it. Jimmy Ma did end up in 11th place because other competitors had much more difficult routines. But if judges just factored in retweets into their scoring system, Ma would have taken home the gold.
That's right. And when asked about his unorthodox soundtrack, Ma said figure skating is an extreme sport and he wants everyone to know how awesome it is. He said the whole point was to get people hyped. I think he was successful in that. He's also in a position to take risks since he isn't in the competition for an Olympic slot, but it looks like he is having a lot of fun.
All right, let us know what you thought about that routine right now on our Facebook live stream. And before we let you go, we want to go over those Pulse results. We've been voting over the last half hour about do you still shop at malls? 55% of you say you do not, 33% of you say yes you do, and 12% of you say that you do it at the last minute.
I'm probably part of that 12%.
We appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate you guys watching our show, and we would appreciate it if you'd go watch News Center at 5:30.
We'll see ya.